Quinn Meinerz got paid 4 years, $80 million, $45 million guaranteed. Quinn Meinerz is now one of the 3 or 4, I guess maybe 5 highest paid guards in the NFL, which is pretty crazy for somebody who started at Wisconsin Whitewater and worked his way up to finally somehow being a draft pick in the 2021 draft. We're going to dig into this new contract, what it means for Quinn, what it means for the Broncos, what it means for their offensive line going forward. And then maybe we'll talk a little bit about receivers because there's a certain Bronco who got a vote on a certain list, which is going to be kind of fun. So that's the plan for today. We'll start in 30 seconds. Welcome into the Toyota Lounge for the DNVR Broncos Podcast. I'm Henry Chisholm. This is Super Bowl 50 champion Coach Todd. It's tough to work the Coach Todd in there, but I don't want to miss it.
I like it.
You're still sticking with Coach Todd. You don't like that better than Coach Davis?
I think I'll probably go by TD for a while.
Oh, yeah, TD's a good one. But what if TD's there?
What do you mean?
Other TD.
You mean Terrell?
Yeah, Terrell. The other TD. Yeah. He'll just be Terrell that day.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know. He'll be Mr. Davis. I have a whole bunch of fun things I want to talk about. I decided I was going to be Hawaii in this college football video game. I felt like that was a fun team to build up. I decided not to wear my Team Serbia jersey today because I didn't want to start any problems. But we don't have time for any of that.
Problems.
No. Maybe at the Olympics I'll start some problems. But big news. Quinn Meinerz got the extension, and we kind of got the numbers exactly right on the podcast. 4 years, $80 million, so $20 million per year, and he gets $45 million guaranteed. He is now tied with Robert Hunt and Quentin Nelson for the third spot among highest paid NFL guards. The leader right now is Landon Dickerson, who's making $21 million per year, so he's right there. The guaranteed money came in just a little bit low. He ranks 6th among NFL guards, so that might have been the concession the Broncos got. But again, that's not a huge concession when it's $45 million guaranteed.
Yeah, it's a lot of money guaranteed. No matter how you slice it, he and his belly are good for life. So I'm happy for him, man. That's a huge accomplishment and a huge contract. And the way he's been playing, if he's able to continue, that he shouldn't even have to worry about the guarantees. They'll pick up those options, and he'll continue to get his bread, man. But that's a huge, huge deal for him, coming from where he came from. Of course, under-scouted out of high school.
Crazy.
And really just making a name for himself.
Yeah, his whole story is crazy. And it comes up, maybe 5 times a year we kind of dig into the whole thing. But it is ridiculous, and this feels like one of the times where we just have to recap how all this went down. Again, not a big-time recruit playing in Wisconsin. Winds up going to Wisconsin Whitewater, a D3 school. Offensive line coach wanted him. Defensive line coach wanted him. Head coach broke the tie and said, you're going to play offensive line. Turned out to be really good. Was set up for a pretty great senior season. Wasn't on any draft radar or anything like that. But the season was canceled for COVID. So he didn't get to play his senior season of college. So the Senior Bowl, which is scheduled the spring after that season, he wasn't even invited to that initially until Landon Dickerson, I think he got hurt in the national championship game for Alabama, if I remember correctly. If not, it was one of the CFP games. So because Landon Dickerson, who is now the highest paid guard in the NFL, couldn't make it to the Senior Bowl, Quinn got the invite after 14 months without playing football, which is pretty crazy. We've all seen the workout videos up in Canada from his time off, really, just right across the border from Wisconsin. Shows up at the Senior Bowl and kicks everybody's ass. There's some really good. I can't remember who the best defensive lineman was. I know at the time Levi Wuzarike, I think from Washington, was one of the top prospects. He had a great rep against him, but he was just demolishing everybody at the Senior Bowl. So much so that he went from being a guy who was not supposed to be drafted to a top 100 pick. And in hindsight, you go back and watch that tape and say, how did he fall to the Broncos at pick number 98? He was so dominant right there. Gets to the NFL, gets a handful of starts as a rookie, knew that it was going to be a project from the start just because he'd never really played real pass protection. But he was super talented as a run blocker. So I can't remember who it was. It wasn't Dalton who got hurt that year. It was I think it was the guy from who now plays with the Lions, left the Lions. What is his name? Quinn loves him. He was hated here. Graham Glasgow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he got hurt, and I think that's why Quinn got a few games. Second year comes back, supposed to start, gets banged up early. And then last year has the breakout season. Now all of a sudden making $80 million, which is just ridiculous money.
Yeah, I think those are the best stories, though, in the NFL.
Yep.
I mean, the first-round draft picks that work out, those are all great, and we love those players. But the guys who really, fight, scratch, and claw, they make their way into the NFL to prove that they're worth this next contract or even being here on this field. And, that's a huge testament to him because that's not an easy place to be at. It's not easy not playing football for 14 months to continue to work out, continue to stay in shape, continue to work hard. That's just all dedication. And it all worked out for him, man. It paid off huge. And I think he's earned the money, absolutely. Yep. So I'm happy for him.
Yep. Yeah, no, I'm it is a really cool story, and the Broncos found a way to get a really good player without a first round pick. If he would have been a first round pick, people would be saying yep, that was a good use of it. Mm-hmm. They got the guy that they want to get when they used, pick 15, pick 10, whatever it might have been. And in an era of Broncos football where there haven't been a lot of first round picks, it's Jerry Jeudy, it's Pat Surtain, and it's Bo Nix, and that's really it from the past 5 drafts now, 6 drafts. That's to find a steal like Quinn is huge for the team. I'm curious now though. I should say, so this kicks in after this year. So he has the 1 year left on his rookie deal. That's why they could have waited till after the season. He then is under contract for 25, 26, 27, 28. So the next 5 years, Quinn is signed up to be a Broncos. He's 25 now. That'll get him through his age 29 or 30 season. I don't know exactly when his birthday is, but that's the bulk of his career. Who do you think got the better end of this deal? Is it Quinn for getting $20 million per year? Is it the Broncos for locking him up?
Quinn wins.
I think so
for
too.
Sure.
I think so
$20
too.
$20 million a year, $1 million a year less than the top guy in your position. I mean, that $1 million will be lost in taxes. So
yeah,
basically, you're making the same amount. So I think he wins hands down. And before the season, they got it done. I know it kicks in after this year, but we talked about, the possibilities of knock on wood injury or not playing up to how he played before. All those different, all of that's out the window now. He can go, he can play, he can be confident knowing that he's secure for the next 4 years after this year. So I think he won the deal. Absolutely. It was a great deal, great negotiation with him and his agent, and great job of getting it done before the season to make sure they were all set.
Yep. We talked about this, I think it was last week. And I thought the Broncos would be in great shape if they just found a way to keep it under $20 million per year. Mm-hmm. Even if it's 19.5, 19.75, whatever it is, just keep it below that $20 million. It feels like a win. Yeah. So I won't say that they won this negotiation. I definitely don't think it's a bad deal. Obviously, I think that Quinn's one of the 3 or 4 best guards in the NFL. He's young. He still seems to be getting better, and you paid market value. And I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this contract, he's pretty unanimously the top guard in the NFL. I think that when you look at guards across the NFL, Landon Dickerson, really, really, really good player. Mm-hmm. How often have you seen a Landon Dickerson highlight?
Yeah, not too often.
Not too often. I'm sure there's probably a great tush push that he was a part of up in Philly where Jalen Hurts followed him to that side, but for the most part, I don't remember seeing clips of Landon Dickerson. You look at Lindstrom down in Atlanta, who I believe is the second highest paid guard right now. Again, I can't think of a highlight reel play that I've seen from him. You get to Quentin Nelson, and then all of a sudden you can think of some highlights because that's the kind of player he is. But I think that's what separates somebody like Quinn, is that once a week you're going to get something that's going to go viral on Twitter. There's all those Twitter accounts like Duke Manyweather. There's the
Baldy's Breakdowns.
Baldy's Breakdowns, great example. Shout out to Baldy, of course. Once a week, you're seeing like a Quinn Meinerz clip go around, and every few weeks, it's one that everybody who's following the league sees. And that's just something that's different than most of these guards. And so while there still are a couple hiccups in pass protection, we ran through some of those numbers. Like ESPN has their pass block win rate. Quinn was a little bit lower than you would expect from a top 3 guard in the NFL, but he's still steadily improving there. And even where he is, he gives so much value as a run blocker that you don't have to worry about it. Like if he just stays where he is, this is a good deal. The idea that he could keep getting better is where you could say this 4 or 5 years from now might look like a really, really great deal for the Broncos. So if I had to pick a side, I'd say Quinn 1, just because it's $20 million a year. You got this deal done now. It seems like that would be the number you get if you were waiting till after the season, things go well. But certainly isn't a bad deal for the Broncos either. One of the concerns, though, is that the Broncos are paying a lot of money to a lot of linemen. Quinn tied for the 3rd most among guards. You have Ben Powers, who ranks 16th in average salary among guards, which isn't a crazy high number, but you remember there's a left guard, right guard, so it's more like being paid 8th when you split those. Garett Bolles paid the 8th most among NFL left tackles. Mike McGlinchey paid the 6th most among right tackles. I think if you add all their average contracts together, it comes out to about 26% of the salary cap goes toward those offensive linemen. Now, that isn't what the Broncos pay this year because Quinn's contract doesn't kick in until next year. Garett Bolles, we'll talk about this in particular a bit later on. He might not be on the team next year just because he isn't under contract. But that is still a lot of money being directed to an offensive line. Is that okay?
I think it's okay as long as their performance matches their play. It's talked about a lot that great coaches build teams from the trenches out. And so you need good trenches to be successful, to be able to run the ball, to give your quarterback time, especially with a rookie quarterback. All that's going to be very important. His protection is the utmost important right now. So I'm fine with us spending money there. They just have to continue to play at a high level and kind of together can elevate their play, because they should kind of play like, the top 1, 2, or 3 group in the league with all the money that's being spent. So it's just about having them execute at a high level. If they're creating holes for Javonte, they're giving Bo Nix, time to pass the ball, like all that is worth it, because now we can continue to use our wide receivers the way we want, our tight ends the way we want. It allows for the offense to stay on the field, keeps our defense off the field. They could be so helpful if they can perform as like a top 3 group. So I'm okay with the amount of money we're spending at the O-line position.
Yep, I am too. I think given where the Broncos are right now, it makes sense. 25% of your cap to an offensive line, like you could almost justify it. It's like that's half your offense. So you give 25% there, you give 25% the rest of the offense, the other 50% to the defense, and off the top of your head, it kind of lines up. But then you factor in that, if you have a good quarterback, he's making 30% of all your money, and so then the numbers kind of get skewed. You also have 8 other guys on the roster now who also play offensive line, who, if you start adding in their $1 million, $2 million, whatever it may be, all of a sudden that number gets inflated. Given where the Broncos are right now, it makes sense. When Bo Nix gets his second contract, assuming all goes well, and 5 years from now the Broncos are paying him top of the market money, that's when you really run into trouble. But as it stands now, you have the money to spend, especially because, again, it kicks in next year. Next year, probably pretty light salary cap wise. You would imagine, just the way NFL contracts are structured with the big signing bonus you get, that probably looks like maybe an $8 million salary cap hit in year one, and they'll kind of build from there. And then in year two, when it goes up, you have plenty of cap space. And the Broncos just being in the situation they're in where they don't have a whole lot of super talented players, they're going to need to be paid top of the market money. You just can't afford to let one walk, regardless of position. Because I know some people are upset about paying a guard as much money as they're paying a guard, but when all you have is a guard, you don't lose him.
Yeah, for sure. How do you feel about the decision to go with Quinn first versus Pat, or even solidifying Cortland in his position?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Again, I didn't think that there was a real rush to get this deal done at $20 million a year. I thought that you could probably wait through the season and then give him the money. Or if you're going to do it now, maybe it does only cost 18, 19 million.
Yeah.
But maybe they thought that he was going to reset the market after this year, and that's a different story. At the same time, I guess they could franchise tag him. Average of the top 5 salaries would come out to like 20.2 million or something like that. So you could have just tagged him and kept him. So I didn't see the urgency. I guess if you're going to do it eventually, there's no reason not to do it now. And I kind of feel the same way about Pat Surtain, just because you can give him his money now, or you can have him play out this year. You have the franchise or the 5th year option next year.
Yep.
You can franchise tag him, and it's going to be about that $20 million the next year. Tag him again if you want, and that'll go up to $25 million the next year. And so you're probably paying about the same amount of money, whether you give Pat the deal or you just kind of use the control that you have. I'm sure Pat would prefer to just do the deal, though. And if that's the case, why not just make him happy if you're going to keep him anyway?
Yeah. It's a lot of certainty when you're signing contracts with guaranteed money.
Yeah.
Like you said, I don't think there was a rush to do the deal. I'm not mad at it. And it doesn't take into effect until next year anyway. So it's really not like they did it this year.
Yeah.
But they did pay him what he would have got had he had another good season. Because I think a lot of those guys that are right above him, or there's 3 guys right above him, technically, they're pretty big names in the NFL.
Yep.
So I don't know if you had to reset the market, or if he was going to reset the market. That's just my opinion.
Yep.
But nevertheless, I think $20 million is still a good deal.
Yep. Gotta give a shout out to our friends at Bet365. Hopefully you guys made some money on the home run derby. I decided not to bet on Serbia today, which is turning out to be a pretty good decision.
Oh, why? Are they losing?
They're losing now.
Oh,
everything was going so well, and then like the last 3 minutes before halftime, that Steph Curry. People don't realize he's pretty good.
Americans.
Yeah, it's damn Americans. Later on, though, yeah, I was really tempted because I don't like wearing my Serbia Jokic jersey to a Nuggets game, because that's a Nuggets game. You're cheering for the Nuggets, not for Serbia.
Yes.
So it's very rare that I'm cheering for Team Serbia, so I don't have a lot of opportunities to wear it. I also decided, though, it's not worth the trouble today.
Yeah, I think you made the right decision. You're not Serbian, right?
No, I'm not.
Oh. Are you American?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Finish.
If you, like me, save some money by not betting on Serbia, you can make some money if you want to use the code DNVR365 over at Bet365. Deposit $10, choose between either a bet and get offer, you place a bet of $5 or more, get $150 in bonus bets, or a first bet safety net offer where you place a bet up to $1,000. If your qualifying bet loses, you receive a match refund bonus bets. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
And if you need a great car to get you around this beautiful country, check out Toyota. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. They have trucks, they have cars, they have Priuses. They have over 17 models available with all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, like the Epic 4Runner. They have the Land Cruiser, Tacoma. You can't go wrong with a new Toyota. And there's no better way than exploring America than in a car.
Yeah.
I think for centuries that is how we got around the country.
Yeah.
We weren't worried about planes. We were big road tripping country.
Toyota's way better than horses.
Way better.
That's what they replaced.
Way better.
Way better.
Exactly. And you should visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. They have the Auto Nation Toyota in Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson's Toyota East in Arroyo, and Stevenson's Toyota West in Lakewood. And Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR.
Looks like you can actually get Toyotas in Serbia. I can't get all the details because I'm on the Serbian Toyota website and I don't speak their language. But I do like.
You would think
that's kind of a cool little looking. I don't even know if that one's in America.
Oh, the Metropolitan.
Yeah, the Nepo Novi League. It says it's only €10 though.
No,
10. Well,
10,000 euros.
Well, if they want to put that little period in there instead of a comma, I'm going with $10. Yeah, but that's not how I'm reading it. All right. Looking ahead to this Broncos offensive line, Quinn's locked up for a long time. Garett Bolles will be kind of the next big decision. Before we get to that one, so Ben Powers is signed through 2026. If the Broncos want to move on a year early, they'd save about $10 million. So given what they are spending on the offensive line, there's a chance that they do decide that they only want these next 2 years and then they want to save money. So there's one of your spots where you can make a decision. With McGlinchey, he's signed through 2027, but they could save about $10 million if they get out 2 years early. So after 2024 and 2025, and they could save more than that if they get out a year later. So there is a little bit of flexibility at the end of those deals, which could factor into some of these decisions that they're making. And that's why, to me, if you get Garett Bolles locked up for 2 more years, that puts you in a situation where his contract is up at that point.
Yep.
You can save money moving on from a Mike McGlinchey or a Ben Powers. And with all 3 of those guys giving you some flexibility at that point, I think it makes sense just to line all those up.
You think you line them up for flexibility, but doesn't that put a strain on you if you have to extend any of those guys at that time?
So the thing is, you can keep McGlinchey, you can keep, like, you don't have to move on from him. And that's why I think I like it. But again, like, Bolles is 32, and tackles last longer than running backs or linebackers or a bunch of different spots. So there's a chance that he can just keep going. But there is a part of me that just wants to see him put together one more good season, see what this offensive line looks like as it's currently constructed. Because if you lock him in for 2 more years, then you're saying these 4 guys at least are our 4 guys for the next 2 seasons, 3 seasons if you do it before this year.
Yep.
And, you know, there's a little flexibility at center, but given the money you've already spent, given the fact you decided not to bring back Lloyd Cushenberry, it's tough to imagine that they'd go invest in a center to upgrade that line at any point. So you'd really just be saying, we're rolling with this group for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. Only thing I can see them doing is drafting a center.
True. Yeah.
That's probably the only way to get around having to pay somebody top dollar. But yeah, lock him up. I mean, you know, why not? I think Garett Bolles is a good player, and I think he plays better than he's paid right now. Same thing with Powers. I feel like, are you going to find another guard that'll take $10 million right now? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you're on the market looking for a guard, you saying you need an upgrade from Powers, or you're going to have to pay that guy more than you paid Powers.
That's the thing.
So 10, 11 million, I feel like, is sufficient for the job that he's doing for sure.
And you'd imagine
he's making double that. That's outrageous.
That is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
You would imagine that for Ben, playing a second year next to Garett Bolles helps. Like in the same system should mean that he takes a step forward. Because that's the thing, is the Broncos offensive line as it looked last year, it's fine. It's pretty good. It's like probably a fringe top 10 group. And you're paying a lot of money, so maybe that's a little bit underwhelming, but it certainly isn't massively underperforming what you're paying them. you look at all those guys, though. Quinn, obviously, young player. The trajectory's been pretty obvious the last couple of years. He could keep getting better. Ben Powers, Mike McGlinchey, not coming off their best seasons.
Yeah.
You could easily see either one of them playing better. And because of that, I think I'd be happy to just extend Bolles. You lock in this kind of core 4 guys on that offensive line. And, the idea is they shouldn't be any worse than they were last year. And I guess the only caveat is that they were very healthy last year. And typically offensive lines, you have a couple guys who are kind of in and out of the lineup at various points. Maybe that's the only piece that isn't sustainable.
Yeah. Because usually, they say the percentage of getting injured in the NFL is 100%. And we don't want our guys to do that, so I'm knocking on wood down here with my feet. You can't see it.
Yep. With the Gucci slides.
Huh? No, I'm not touching wood.
No, that.
Not him. No, but I think that this group will be better. I think for Powers and McGlinchey, it was their first year in Sean Payton's system and also a first year with this new group of guys. So there's a learning curve with all of that. And I think that now you have kind of veterans all the way around who have played together, who know each other, that can help come together and help out, a young center so that the team can be better. But it should look a lot better on the edges, specifically left guard, left tackle, right guard, right tackle, for how they're picking up schemes and stunts and games. We talk about Bo Nix and how he'll help with that.
Yep.
But just, the ability to pass off and for Powers to know what Bolles is thinking and for McGlinchey to know what Belly is thinking.
Yep.
Like, it's going to happen much easier. It's going to look much smoother. And I think they should be better. No matter what, I feel like they're going to have a better year this year just for playing with each other, all last year.
Yeah, I think so too. And the other piece here is that, like I said, the Broncos just aren't in a position where they're going to need to be giving big money to guys in the near future.
Yeah, besides Pat.
Exactly, besides Pat. Because you look around that roster and say, like, if all goes well, Marvin Mims could be expensive in 3 years. If all goes well, maybe your center plays really well. Again, we haven't seen any of these guys, so you're really projecting at that point. But then in a couple years, maybe you got to spend some money. If you want to extend Javonte after this year, he's a running back. It's not going to be that expensive. You look around the roster, there aren't a lot of guys on rookie contracts who you say, this guy is going to be crazy expensive. I mean, if Nick Bonito pops, then that could be the case. Baron Browning pops. But just given where everybody is now, why not pay Quinn what he needs? Because it's really tough to get guys who seem like they should be Pro Bowlers for the next decade or so to stick around.
And he's the only player, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's the only player at his position that our Broncos are playing in the top 5 at that position. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's no other position where we're paying somebody in the top 5 of their position.
No.
What about top 10? Garett, Bolles is
Bolles and McGlinchey. If you split left tackle, right tackle.
Split it up, yeah.
If you just say tackles, then neither are in there.
Yes.
Cortland isn't.
Nope.
Justin Simmons isn't on the team.
Nope. Our D linemen, I don't think are either.
No, Zach Allen would be outside.
Would be the only one. Yeah.
He'd be kind of close, but he'd be outside.
Yeah. So they don't have a lot of players that are playing like top dollar around the league for.
Only Russell Wilson still. But other than
they have
that,
one player other than Quinn, and he's not even on the team. So.
Yeah. So we'll leave it with that. Go check out Game Time if you want to go watch a game. I think I'm going to Rockies game this weekend. My apartment building has a great deal. For most games, we can get in for $8 to any Rockies game, but it's not to every Rockies game. So we're going Saturday. So I was looking through Game Time, and there really are some awesome options. Helps when the Rockies are as bad as they are. They've got Rockies games. They've got concerts. It's definitely concert season up at Red Rocks. UFC fights. That's where I was always checking for tickets over there. Really, anything you want to get to, go to Game Time. Oh, and that reminds me, I got a DM I need to respond to. Somebody asking for Broncos games, is it better to wait until the day of the game and buy a ticket through Game Time, or to buy tickets now and kind of like lock in a price before they change. I need to get back to him, but the answer is if the Broncos are bad, you're going to wish that you had waited, because like we've got a lot of people at the company who wind up sitting with lower level tickets for like $50-$60 through game time, just because an hour before the game they're at the tailgate, the prices drop because nobody's buying tickets. So if you think the Broncos are going to struggle this year, that's the move. If you think they're going to take off, then all of a sudden those tickets could go up to like $250 pretty quickly. So that's up to you. It's like your own little bet. But with game time, the last minute deals are the way to go. They got their zone deals. So check that out, especially if you're looking for last-minute tickets. If you would like to use the code DNVR, you'll actually get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, though, you create an account, you redeem the code DNVR, you get $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
And shout out to Volo Sports. Volo Sports is the best way to meet new people, get active, and play games in the city. This weekend I was driving down Broadway, and I don't know the name of the spot, but it's a bar and it has like sand volleyball courts outside of it. It's really cool, but it was Volo Sports. I drove by and I saw that Volo Sports was putting on the event, and it looked like a lot of fun. There was a lot of people out there, so it looked like they were having a good time. And right now you can get the Volo Pass for only $20 a month. The Volo Pass is a premier monthly membership program that gives members unlimited access to sports, events, and social activities every night of the week. You don't want to miss it. You can drop in. You can create a team. You can play as a sub. It includes league discounts for up to $50. You can free or discounted access to tournaments, fitness classes, and events. You don't want to miss out on the Volo Pass. You can sign up on the Volo app using the code DNVR3. And you even get a better deal because you'll get the Volo Pass for only $10 a month for the first 3 months. So go check out Volo, download the Volo Pass, and get active.
All right. Let's jump into these receiver rankings real quick.
Jump on in.
So far, Quinn Meinerz was an honorable mention on this list at interior offensive line. These are the ESPN rankings, 80 different voters. Yeah, if they had known this before, they would have put him up higher. Has there been another Bronco who's gotten a vote? Oh, no, the cornerbacks are tomorrow, so we'll see where Pat falls. I don't think there's been another Bronco who's gotten a vote yet. So that's a real shame. Today, though, a Bronco did get a vote. That Bronco is Courtland Sutton, who just squeaked onto the last spot on the list. But first, we're going to start at the top. Top 10 wide receivers, according to ESPN's 80 voters, who are executives, coaches, people around the league. Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, number 4, CeeDee Lamb, number 5, Devontae Adams, number 6, A.J. Brown, number 7, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 8, Mike Evans, 9, Stephon Diggs, 10, Brandon Ayuk.
It's a hell of a list, man.
It really is. I mean, receivers got to be the deepest position in the NFL.
Yeah, there's a lot of talented guys that play wide receiver. I mean, Justin Jefferson has to be number 1. I was there for his rookie season.
Yeah.
And I was like, on the sideline like, this kid is crazy. And he was just balling every game. And without a doubt, he's the best wide receiver in the NFL.
When did you realize he was that good?
Like, first game there.
Yeah?
First game, yeah.
Because when did you get there?
I don't know. I think my first game there was the gritty game, though. Like, the first time he did
it.
Like
wow.
That. When he was, like, running backwards into the end zone.
Yep.
Yeah. He's a beast.
Huh.
Yeah. And like, he balled out every game that he's played. And anytime he hasn't balled out, he's just been injured. So, come on.
Yeah, I think he's a pretty clear number 1 at this point.
Yep.
The only guy who I think maybe there could be an argument is Tyreek Hill, just because like he's just so unique, like in the different things that he does. Because you could even play him at running back if you want. Like, and you see that occasionally. They'll put him in the backfield and let him run routes from there. Just that speed changes a defense so much that there's a slight temptation. But again, maybe that's just from seeing, like, he was there for a lot of that streak that the Chiefs had over the Broncos. So it's kind of burned in my brain. It has to be Justin Jefferson, number 1, though.
No, Tyreek Hill, is a beast in his own right. We definitely don't want to, like, discredit him, because the thing that makes him like so good is he can cut at full speed. It's hard to do, man. And he doesn't slow down when he makes his cut. He cuts at full speed, and he's really, really like, I want to say explosive, but I might have to pause that. Yeah, but he's a great player. I think the list is pretty on point. I would probably put Davante Adams though above CeeDee Lamb. I don't know if I feel like CeeDee Lamb's a better like all around wide receiver than Davante Adams is.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I was kind of surprised. I can't remember why I was going through Davante Adams' stats. I wasn't as impressed as I thought I'd be. Now, obviously, like the last couple years with the Raiders, that's kind of his own. Like that's a tough situation. Like you can't really hold that against him. But I always remembered him as being kind of like this great receiver with the Packers for a very long time. He started his career kind of slowly, though. Rookie year, 446 yards. Next year, 483. Like, it felt like he just jumped in and immediately was that guy, but it did take him a couple years. Then 997, 885. Again, good years, but I remember him as being a guy for like 8 years who's that guy. And it's only from that point on where he then, was this 3 of the next 4 years wound up with at least 1,300 yards. That's a shorter burst with the Packers than I remember.
Well, 4 years is a long time to average 1,300 yards.
That is true.
Like, that's a lot of playing time. That's a lot of catches, a lot of routes. So he was producing at a high level. But you got to remember, he came from Fresno State.
Yeah,
he wasn't
true.
like, this Alabama, NFL was primed, wide receiver. I think he kind of grew up and were able to see some good receivers and just kind of like took pieces of everybody's game and put his together, and that's where you get Davante Adams where he is now. And now he's just in a tough position because I think if he had a better quarterback, I think he can still perform the same way he used to. 2 or 3 years ago.
And I mean, his first year with the Raiders with Derek Carr there, more than 1,500 yards, led the NFL with 14 touchdowns. There's just a difference. Like, obviously, there's a difference between Aaron Rodgers and Derek Carr. There's maybe an even more important difference for a receiver between Derek Carr and, Jimmy Garoppolo or Aiden O'Connell or whoever they're subbing in there. But yeah, I could totally see him being up higher on this list. I mean, even the fact that he had over 1,100 yards last year is pretty crazy given that offense. Mike Evans, I don't know that he needs to be too much higher on the list, but
he's just so consistent, man.
Every single year.
So consistent.
Every single year.
And he gets overlooked all the time, and just you don't even think about him, and then you look up like his stats 1,000 yards again, like
every single time. It doesn't matter what else is happening.
It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. It doesn't matter if the offensive line is trash or if the defense is trash. Like, Mike Evans is going to get 1,000 yards.
Yep. He's never not had 1,000 yards, and he's played 10 years in the NFL.
Yep.
10,000-yard seasons in 10 years. Again, I guess only 1,255 last year, but also led the NFL with 13 touchdowns. Like, that's... I think people just kind of get bored. I think that's all it is, because if you were just trying to build a team for this season, I'd be really tempted to take him over, Amon-Ra St. Brown right in front of him. Really good player. Mike Evans has proven it over and over and over and over again, though. The same thing with A.J. Brown, honestly, who's right in front of Amon-Ra.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Ooh, that's tough. You're saying you would
tough.
take Mike Evans above Amon-Ra?
I would.
Amon-Ra?
I never know. Yeah.
Amon-Ra? The sun god?
The sun god.
Amon-Ra. Yeah.
We can just go with the sun god.
Amon-Ra. You got to say
exactly.
Like Egyptian.
It's a great name.
Equanimous, yeah.
Could name my kid after
Brandon
him.
Ayuk. It made the
That's
list at number 10.
Crazy to me.
He's a heck of a receiver, man.
He is.
I don't know if I've always felt like he's top 10, but
that's
he's a hell of a receiver.
That's the tough part for me. Top 10, because again, you look behind him, Cooper Kupp. End of his career, but it's Cooper Kupp. Deebo Samuel, same team. And yeah, Brandon Ayuk had the better stats this year, but that is a really tough decision. More honorable mentions, you got Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Nico Collins, Amari Cooper, DJ Moore. Amari Cooper might be the guy who's the most underrated on this list.
Yeah, Amari Cooper's been solid for a long time. He's not who he kind of fell off for a couple years and then kind of like bounced back in Dallas. and then has had quarterback struggles in Cleveland.
Yep.
But he's still a great wide receiver.
Well, what he did the end of last year was crazy. Like, he kind of just willed that offense to, like, into the playoffs, and then they got through that first round, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, 1,200 yards last year.
Deebo Samuel's always tough for me because I don't know if I consider him just like a true wide receiver.
Yeah.
He's more of like just a weapon.
Exactly.
Because he plays a little bit of running back. You know, I think he runs the ball like a running back, like run after catch. And his routes he doesn't have like crazy routes like Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. He just is a run after the catch kind of guy. Like, he finds open grass, gets to it, and then run after the catch. So it's always tough. I don't really know where to put him as far as like position, but I guess he's listed as a wide receiver, so we could talk about him as a wide receiver.
Yep.
Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle. I've always felt like Devontae Smith could be ranked higher if he got more opportunities. Like, if he didn't have to split catches with AJ Brown, I think he'd be a top 10 wide receiver. I think he's that good.
Yeah, I think that's the tough part with him. Maybe even similar to Brandon Ayuk in some ways. It's just kind of tough to tell whether is he a really good number 2 receiver, or is he like your true X who, you know, could run every route. You can, if you need to, you can feed him 10 slants and just take with the defensives over and over and over. And for those guys who have the little bit slighter frames, especially when you're in Devontae Smith's position where you're not even asked to do that. Like, you play the Z, you let AJ Brown do all the big receiver stuff. It's tough to say that he belongs in that category. To me, he's just right at the very top. Similar to Jalen Waddle, too, of those like Z receivers who are very valuable, but they're not a Justin Jefferson, a Jamar Chase, Devontae Adams. Just tougher to take over a game. When they take over a game, it feels like it's more of a 4 catches for 125 yards than like a 10 catches for 85, which is first down.
Yeah. I feel like what they ask him to do, though, it should be more in line with what Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson do than instead of what A.J. Brown does. I feel like A.J. Brown is similar to me. Like, I'm asking him, DJ Metcalf, Cortland Sutton, like, the game plan for you guys is different than the game plan for Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. So I just feel like his opportunities are different than they should be, but I've always felt like he was talented.
Yeah.
How is DK Metcalf not at least an honorable mention?
Oh, wow. He didn't make that category.
Isn't that
is
crazy?
Pretty crazy. That's really crazy.
What stopped him is quarterback play.
Yeah. I mean, especially you compare, I guess Amari Cooper didn't really have a quarterback, but you go up from there. Nico Collins has Stroud. Devontae Smith has Hurts. Jalen Waddle has Tua, which is still better. Garrett Wilson, I guess, hasn't had his guy. Go up there to Purdy, to Stafford. Like, it does make you think that if DK had a quarterback, things could be a little bit different.
Yeah, because when he did, he was top 10.
If you could add, we're going to get into Cortland Sutton in a second, but the Broncos get to choose one receiver from this top 10 list.
Top 10, not the honorable mention. Top 10 only.
And we have to throw out Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill because I think they're just they're freaks. And maybe we have to throw out Jamar Chase too, but just give it like the fit on the team, who would provide the most just for this season?
I'm going to say Brandon Ayuk. He's the most different from what we have right now. And he can run every route in the route tree. He can play slot for us if we need him to. He can play outside. He's versatile. I was going to say Amon-Ra as well because he's similar as far as his versatility. I feel like A.J. Brown, we just have 2 Cortland Suttons.
Exactly.
Mike Evans, same thing. Stephon Diggs. I like his game, but, you know, I think some of these other guys are a little bit more versatile and where they could be in a formation. So I'll probably say, who did I say? Brandon Ayuk?
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. You get to pick one instead of Ayuk from the honorable mention category. Who do you take? Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel, Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Nico Collins, Amari Cooper, DJ Moore.
Deebo Samuel for another versatile player. I think that versatility is like it's tough because you getting like you can get lulled to sleep as a defense. You know what I'm saying? Because the personnel change instantly and you can't do anything about it. And you're sitting in base because everybody came out. You thought it was 12 personnel, but now everybody's spread out and Deebo's the running back. So now it's like, do I put the linebacker on Deebo or do I have him go out and try to find these tight ends? Well, if I go out and have him try to find these tight ends, they're just going to run the football. And if I put him on the running back, on Deebo, because he's in the running back position, he's just going to run a vert out the backfield. Like, you know, I think it's always tough when you have that kind of versatility because you continue to play with defense's head and you can never get comfortable as a defense.
So receiving votes category: DK Metcalf, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, T. Higgins, Puka Nacua, George Pickens, Chris Olave, Michael Pittman Jr., DeAndre Hopkins, and sneaking on the list, Courtland Sutton. I have two thoughts here. DeAndre Hopkins being that low is pretty crazy, but at the same time, like, he is getting up there, so I can't complain too much. The crazier one to me, Puka being in the receiving votes category, rookie season, 1,486 receiving yards. Receiving votes. It's another one of those guys who, if he had been a first-round draft pick and did that, he might be number 4 on this list.
And I think if you're going to say, like, it was only 1 year, well, I think we got to look at Nico Collins in the honorable mention.
Exactly.
Like, it's not like Nico's been balling for years.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that definitely Puka Nacua should at least been in the honorable mention. I mean, he broke the record for receiving for rookie year that Justin Jefferson just broke a couple years before that. Like, that should kind of let you know what kind of player he is. And he's just like a gritty wide receiver, man. There's not a lot of gritty wide receivers anymore. He's willing to go across the middle. He'll run, you know, any route. Another versatile player. I think he definitely should be higher than just a receiving vote guy.
Courtland Sutton makes the list. What do you think?
I love it. I think that he deserves some credit. I know everybody wants to talk about the numbers as far as not having like 1,000-yard seasons, but him as a player and what he brings to the table, and when he's given opportunities, he makes the most of it. I mean, that's all you could ask for, like, you know, a player like that. And he's just another guy that has struggled. He hasn't struggled, but his numbers aren't as high as they could be, but it's because of quarterback play. Most of the guys that we listed on this list have had really great quarterbacks, from Kirk Cousins to Tua to Joe Burrow to Dak Prescott. Like, the list is full. Like, it's almost the same list of top 10 quarterbacks as it is like receivers on the top 10 list. Which is crazy.
It's just no Mahomes. And Mahomes had the number 1 tight end. And also, I mean, where would Tyreek Hill be if he'd never played for the Chiefs? Still a great player, but would he have had the years that make you say, I don't know, like, he's one of the 1 or 2 best?
I don't even know if you think to use him in that way.
Exactly.
If the Chiefs don't do it.
I mean, late draft pick.
I think he would have got, like, stuck into a Amendola role where he's running these quick, shallow routes, and you don't even know that you're supposed to just send him deep and throw it up and let him go get it. Like, so absolutely, I think the Chiefs helped turn him into the player he is today.
No, it's good to see Courtland on here. Honestly, I didn't think that he would make the cut. Let's see, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So this is what, probably like 27 guys or so. And this is what we've been talking about when we talk about the contract. Like, he's paid like a mid-20s receiver. The stats say mid-20s receiver. This list sneaks on in the mid-20s. Like, it's a little bit validating because it's basically where we've thought that he's been throughout this whole offseason, where he's wanted a new contract. But yeah, I mean, that's a good group of receivers to be listed with. You know, Courtland Sutton isn't a top 10 receiver in the league. I don't think really anybody thinks that, but it's mostly just because you have these guys who are absolute freaks. When you look down here, like, there still are some really good receivers in this receiving votes category, and I think that's about where Courtland belongs. Terry
McLaurin, T. Higgins.
George Pickens,
Michael
Chris
Pittman
Olave.
Jr. Yeah, there's definitely talented wide receivers.
DeAndre Hopkins somehow. DK.
But it really feels like the difference between all three groups is quarterback.
I agree.
Because I think Keenan Allen is not higher on the list because it's last year. But Keenan Allen, I mean, you'll hear a lot of guys, even in the top 10, talk about like receivers they watch.
It's Keenan Allen.
It's Keenan Allen because his releases are crazy. But from Terry McLaurin to George Pickens, DK, a lot of these guys just don't have quarterbacks that are consistent enough to allow them to be, you know what I'm saying, 1,500-yard guys.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's why hopefully Bo Nix is, even if he's just who we kind of think he is, which is a starting NFL quarterback, maybe not a guy who's, I think you hope that he's a Pro Bowl type of quarterback, but just given what we know about him, the scouting report, those sorts of things, you expect him to build a really nice career as a middle of the road starting quarterback. Again, like those are pre-draft projections and those sorts of things, so it's all about what actually happens. But even if he's just that guy, he's going to give Courtland Sutton the best opportunity that Courtland's had in his entire career.
For sure.
Which is going to be fun to watch because Courtland made so many great plays last year, and Bo Nix is very capable of putting him in those same situations. You know, because a lot of those are just things are breaking down. Court's got a one-on-one. Put the ball up high and see if he can go make the play. And that's, you know, a play caller doesn't want that to be what you're going after unless you have like a Justin Jefferson or a Jamar Chase. Then you take that one-on-one every time. But when you're Sean Payton, you don't say, hey, we're designing this play to do that. He's designing plays to get receivers open. Regardless, at least a handful of times in every single game, every quarterback is going to be a situation where you just got to say, hey, I gotta give this guy a chance. And Bo Nix is capable of putting that ball in a good spot. And so you get Courtland the chance to make those crazy plays, and you hope that you see more from him from a volume perspective.
Yeah. Do you feel like we're limiting, like we're putting a ceiling on Bo Nix, like prematurely? Like I feel like, you know, a lot of the draft projections are putting him as a middle of the road guy. Like, what's stopping him from carving up the defense in a different way?
Totally.
Like, he doesn't have to do it like Mahomes does it. He doesn't have to do it like Josh Allen does it. But there's no reason that he can't go out there and just find his receivers, make great plays, and continue to make smart plays, and just do what Sean tells him to do and have a phenomenal career. I mean, I love the success stories. We talk about Quinn. Like,
exactly.
The year before he got drafted, or even the year he got drafted, or the year after he got drafted, nobody would have said, hey, he's about to be the fourth highest paid O-lineman in 3 years. Like, that just wasn't what people thought about him as a player.
Definitely.
And I think that Bo Nix has so many great traits. You just have to be able to do those things. I don't think he has to do anything different to be a better than average quarterback. He just has to do what he did in college, which is make the right decision, find the open guy, and just get the ball to him. And I think that he could easily be easily, I think is the wrong word, but I just think he can be a top 10 quarterback if he could do that on a consistent basis. He doesn't have to he doesn't have to be the fastest. He doesn't have to evade, 20 tackles a game for everybody to watch him on ESPN. I think he just has to go out there and do his job.
Yep. I mean, Quinn, he was the 7th guard chosen in that draft. Bo's the 6th quarterback. Like, it's different because quarterbacks just go off the board early. Like, was there even... Yeah, there were actually 2 first-round guards. One, they called Rashawn Slater a guard, actually, on this list, who turned out to be a tackle. So he was actually the 6th guard taken. It's different, again, because guards get drafted later than quarterbacks, but it's that same kind of rise. Like, Quinn was a bit of a lottery ticket. I think there's some of that in Bo Nix, too. I think that quarterbacks are just tough to project because... some guys are a Josh Allen who, when Josh Allen's drafted, you say he's big, he's fast, he's strong, he has a big arm, and if he can just figure a couple things out, he can be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL because he's just so talented. Patrick Mahomes, the book was in some ways similar. Like, you knew he had the off-platform things. You knew he had the big arm. You knew he could make plays on his own. But you thought that turnovers would come with that. You wondered about him running a standard offense. I guess similar to Josh Allen in some ways. But those guys both had the physical talent where you say, if you get a little bit lucky here, if things go well, they can figure it out. There are other quarterbacks who, Tom Brady being the example, Brock Purdy being an example of a guy who doesn't have the physical talent. But if as a quarterback you meet like those minimum thresholds, like your arm is strong enough, you're big enough, you're fast enough, you can take enough hits, then if you're smart enough, then you're going to be able to find a way. You just have to be really, really, really smart. And to me, Bo is kind of halfway in between.
You saying he's not that smart?
We don't know yet. We don't know yet. We know that Sean thinks so, but you just don't know until you get on the field. I think that when you look at like the physical stuff, he's not Josh Allen. He's not Patrick Mahomes, but he's fast for a quarterback. He makes plays off script. He's got those funky arm angles. He has probably better than average arm strength. So he isn't like lacking in the physical attributes. Again, he was the number one dual threat quarterback in the country in his recruiting class. That's a guy who has the physical talent. It just isn't going to be the kind of thing that carries him all the way to the top like it does for a Josh Allen or it does for a Lamar Jackson, who, when those guys, all it took was just things click a little bit and all of a sudden they're off and running. For Bo, he's going to need to be one of the 5 smartest quarterbacks in the NFL if he's going to be making consistent Pro Bowls, competing for all Pro awards. And there's a chance that happens. From an outside perspective, you just don't know for sure. And the fact that Sean vouches for him, that's huge. But to me, that's why quarterbacks are so hard to predict, is because so much of it is just, can you make the right decision over and over and over and over and over again? And it's just tough to say until they get on the field.
But how is that tough to say? Because they either did or did not make the right decision in college, right?
I think it's because
there's factors involved.
Yeah, I think it's because it's just the level of complexity of the offense. I think even from the time that the play gets called in, there's more that's asked of you. I'm not sure actually for Bo. I don't think they use the cards from the sideline to call plays there.
Yeah.
But being able to give out the play calls, to remember things, to understand all the language, like that part's harder. Get up to the line of scrimmage, reading the defense is a lot harder than it is in college. The reads become a lot harder. And I think for Bo, again, I believe he's smart. And if Sean Payton vouches for him, that's great too. I also think, though, that offense, there are a lot of one reads or even pre-snap reads where you throw the bubble screen, you throw the slant, those little RPOs, the read options. The Broncos will run some of that stuff because that's where he's been most comfortable. But eventually, there need to be more reads. Like, you need to be able to run complex plays with option routes all over the field, depending on the coverage, and that's what it takes to get to the very top. And he hasn't proven that part yet. That's why I do think that of all the quarterbacks in the draft, except maybe Caleb Williams, if you want one to start a game this weekend, I'd take Bo, because you know the things that he does well. You know he can make those simple reads. You build an RPO-heavy offense. I think he's ready out the gate. It's just how much can he take mentally? Where is the processing? Because if it's A, processing, I think he's, again, like he's a fringe top 10 quarterback for the next decade or more. If it's A+, then all of a sudden that's where you get into anything's possible.
I think it's A+. We'll have to see, like you say, though. But,
yeah.
I have high hopes for his ability to process information quickly.
Yep.
I think that's one of the things that Sean said he liked most about him. So
if Sean says so, Sean knows.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Bo knows and Sean knows.
Wow, Bo knows. Who knows better?
Who knows better than Bo? I don't know.
Wow. You're going to have to tell us when you get back. Tomorrow, Todd's final show on the DNVR Broncos podcast.
I will be here Sunday, though.
Oh, you will be here Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay, well, Todd's second to last show tomorrow. You should still watch, even if it's second to last. Sunday's going to be awesome, though. Oh, we haven't plugged this at all. Come down to the bar. You get to meet Todd.
Yes.
You get to meet
yourself.
I would just meet Todd twice if I were you. But yeah. We'll have the video game tournament, college football video game. Everybody's gonna be playing. not just about the entry. It's come hang out, free entry. Just come hang out at the bar because we're giving away 4 trips to Las Vegas the weekend the Broncos are there. 4 trips, 3 nights at Circa. That's late November. Flights are included. All you got to do is show up. If there's like 10 people, you got 40% chance of winning. If there's 100, maybe less, but hopefully there's going to be a lot of you there. So we'll see Todd again tomorrow and on Sunday, and we'll hopefully see all of you again tomorrow too.
We all silly like the mayor.